Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings, salutations. This is, and I quote, a weekly show where we introduce you to some of the best creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote Channel, and our guest on this episode is indie writer extraordinaire, Eric Nierstedt is here. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm not getting any sound.
Well, that's strange. Well, I can hear you and I can see you. Can you hear me now? Are you hearing me now, or are we having a little bit of trouble back here? Normally, after these videos are done, they unmute your microphone so you can go back to what you were. I'm sorry. Are you still with us?
Hey, I can't hear you.
Oh,
can't hear you.
Okay. Well, here's what you can do. You can hold on a second. Hold on. You can jump out and then jump back in. Let me see. Hold on, folks. We're having a bit of technical difficulties.
I can't hear what you're saying. No sound.
Yep. But sorry, folks. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully our guests will be able to jump back in here momentarily. And this is, and I quote, don't forget to like and share with your closest friends. If you're watching us live or on a replay, thank you so much for doing so. And if you have any questions for our guest of honor once he returns, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those as they come in respectively. And once again, we thank you for joining us for this episode of And I Quote. Normally, this show is on Saturdays at 12 o'clock Eastern time. And let's see if we can get him back. Hello,
yeah.
sir.
Oh, now we're good. Now I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, when we play clips, they mute everyone's microphone, and then when the clips are over, they would unmute your microphones, and you should be able to jump. Yeah, run back in here, but apparently, yeah, there might be a technical snafu, at least with all due respect to your setup, and that's okay. Technical difficulties happen sometimes.
No, of course. We worked through it. That's the main thing.
Yes. So if that does occur again, you know what to do. The directions were listed in that private chat message.
Understood. Hopefully, we won't need it again, but good to have.
Yes, of course. Now, with that being said, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, who may be watching or listening to this right now. So once again, if you have any questions for our guest of honor, Eric, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. More than happy to take those as they come in respectively. With that being said, Eric, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up?
Oh, how much time do we have? Definitely, I had a lot of different people that I read growing up. I think I was very fortunate that I had parents who valued taking me to the library and showing me different things. And I also grew up kind of at a time where there was a certain degree of reading for kids. I think the first thing I remember really getting into was, as many people of my age will tell you, was the Goosebumps series with R.L. Stine and those books. And as I got older, I always tell this story. I think certain people always say like their parents helped them with certain things. My mother always helped me with this because at one point she read one of these books and she immediately went out and came back with a copy of, I think it was The Dead Zone by Stephen King. And she said, Eric, I've read the Goosebumps. You need to move on now. Here's this. So that was my gateway to Stephen King, and he was absolutely a huge influence on me as I got every book the library had on him at one point. I also was influenced into fantasy by my father, and he introduced me to Lord of the Rings. So that really gave me an appreciation for Tolkien and that level of fantasy. On my own, I also took a lot of love to Neil Gaiman, Terry Brooks, eventually Terry Pratchett. And I'd probably say all of those together really shaped me personally. Although I also do credit guys like Ray Bradbury, because I loved his prose. I still do. And it's one of those things I think that you probably strive for the rest of your life as a writer to get to. And if you're lucky, maybe you get it. But I think most of the time you're just always hoping you can get even within an inch of it. But those were some of the ones I really remember. As for individual books, certainly Different Seasons by Stephen King, which is, I think, kind of opened my mind to different kinds of writing. Bradbury would be The Illustrated Man, which is a wonderful collection of his short stories. For Brooks, his Shannara series, any book in particular, but I think particularly The Elfstones of Shannara was something I really enjoyed. Pratchett was Hogfather because that was my intro to him and really just his whole style. And for Gaiman, any of his books would be great. For me personally, it was American Gods, because I think that was the book that made me want to write a certain way and really write the books that I have right now. So those would probably be my top picks for authors and for books that have influenced me as I grew up and got older.
Oh wow, that's quite a list there. Yeah, sure. We're definitely going to need a lot longer than 2 minutes to answer that one. No, I'm just kidding.
I think so.
No, it's okay. There's no time limits on these, really. We do our open field, ladies and gentlemen, open field. No, but some good picks though, and you're not the first person who's dropped the name Stephen King or some of the other ones you mentioned. Ray Bradbury. That name has been mentioned a few times here on this program. So
I would think, yeah.
Yeah, good names. I actually have a copy. I haven't read it yet. My TBR is like 600 miles deep. It's pathetic. But one of the books that's on my shelf right now is Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. So
that's a good one. Absolutely, get to that one as soon as you can. It's a mind blower.
I hear it is, and I got it sitting right on my shelf on the other side of my studio. So I gotta get on it, son, as one might say. At some point, there's no doubt about it. What would you say are some of your favorite TV series, past or present?
Again, there's quite a bit. I consider a lot of outside media to kind of influence my writing. For TV, one of the top picks I always have to mention is The Twilight Zone, because it was just such a wonderfully varied series that could tell so many different kinds of stories and really open your mind to what was possible. I still have the original series and even the 1980s revival on DVD. I also point to Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it kind of opened up my mind to what was possible with character storytelling, and that it was honestly just such a great long-form series that also knew how to tell really good individual stories while it was doing that. I would also point to, God, it's really kind of hard to narrow it down once you get to it. Just for, again, a good show, I always enjoyed Night Court. Again, because it had some great character stories, but it was also a really entertaining show that for me, I can pop in any episode at any time and I'm immediately entertained for the next 20 minutes. And I think those are the kind of shows that I've always enjoyed, just like good storytelling, unique ideas, and just good, strong characters.
I got you. Good picks there. Good picks. What would you say are some of your favorite movies, past or present?
Well, favorite movie of all time, I'll always go with The Blues Brothers. I think to me, it's just this perfect storm of so many different things: great music, great insanity, great performances, this, kind of epic, putting everything back together story. So that's always my top, because there's just so many things you can take away from it every time you watch. Also, I have to give it to Blazing Saddles, because I don't think about the insanity of the Old West and just how stupid racism can be. I've also loved Stand By Me, because that was kind of one of the first Stephen King stories I ever read, and to see it be brought to the screen so well and done and just really captured the perfect idea of taking a book to the screen for me. So that's always one of my top ones. Also would count The Shawshank Redemption, because again, amazing story that was almost perfectly adapted from book to screen. And let me just think if there's any others, because again, it's when you really have to think about it, it's hard to narrow it all down. I think I would probably also I would probably also give it to The Thing, because it's, to me, it's just one of my favorite horror movies, and I think you always get a different perspective every time you watch it, and that's very, very hard for a movie to do.
Good. Wow. Okay. Yeah. John Carpenter's The Thing is one of the best horror films ever made.
No question. No question.
Sure. The effects hold up 40 plus years later. It's insane.
I always tell people, you look at some bad CGI and you look at what this guy did, probably with like, a bag of ketchup and some plaster, and it's like, what happened? How did we go wrong?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, no, John Carpenter's Thing is certainly one of the best horror films ever made. Stand by Me. Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I didn't love it, but I do like it. It's okay. It's fine. I mean, what are you gonna do? Shoot us all? No, Wes, just you. Anyway, and it's Kiefer Sutherland. It's crazy.
That does help.
Yeah. They had young up and coming actors at that time, but my gosh, from the Sutherlands to Will Wheaton's to gosh, like you had everybody. Richard Dreyfuss is in that. It's insane.
Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, he was the narrator. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Yep.
You're right.
He's the narrator. That's right. Yep. He was thrown into it. Corey Feldman was also in it. So,
it's just a shame that Will Wheaton then squandered it by going on and being Wesley Crusher.
Yeah, and then he became a meta version of that character, or himself in the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, he did. Yes,
Ian Sheldon
wasn't huge on that show, but whenever I saw him on there, I was like, well, this could be worth a look.
Yeah, the rivalry between Sheldon and Will Wheaton was something to behold on that show at the time. So I will give it that. I will give it that. There's no question about it. When did you start writing?
Oh, well, as I said, I read for a really long time in my life. I think the first time I kind of sat down and tried to write something, I might have been about 13 or so. I think it was me kind of trying to do my own take on Stand By Me or something like that. And yeah, it's like every first time you start writing, the first thing you write is always terrible, but in the best cases, you try to kind of keep going with it and figure out like, okay, this is what I did wrong here, or this is what I can do better, and kind of go from there. So that was probably when I started, and I was on and off for a little while, but I think I was probably in college when I kind of first started to seriously try to write a book of some kind. That was because then I had like a little more creativity, a little more time, and I kind of knew more about how to put the ideas I had down on paper.
Oh, I gotcha. All right. Well, it makes sense. Definitely makes sense. What would you say are some of the rewards about being a writer?
I think the rewards are really that you get to have the fun of building, that world. Whatever, your particular topic might be, whether you want to write fiction in all its many varied forms, whether you want to just write a book about a particular topic or a certain area, it's kind of watching it come to life and take shape, and kind of feeling like, you're really making something that, hopefully people will respond to and like, or you're getting to kind of take the world you see in your head or the story you see in your head and make it into something that's concrete and real in a way. And I mean, for me, that's the best reward, because, there are, I'm not going to say I'm an overwhelming fountain of knowledge, but usually when I have a story in my, I spend a while trying to kind of develop it. And when you actually start typing it down and, seeing it take shape, for me, that's just incredibly rewarding, because I feel like, oh, I'm finally making this now. I'm finally, it's not just this random story in my head. It's something that can actually take shape. And for me, that's the biggest reward.
Oh, awesome sauce, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do greatly appreciate it. And once again, this is with Eric Nierstedt here on this episode. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in those comments in the chat. If you're watching us live on the replay, thank you so much for doing so. Flip side of the coin, though, biggest challenges about being a writer.
Ooh, the actual act of writing is always really hard. I can remember a number of writers saying they love writing in itself, but they hate the physical work of sitting down and typing out 5 to 10 pages a day or whatever their personal requirement might be. And I think the other biggest challenge for me, and I think a lot of other people would agree with me, is marketing, because most writers go out and they want to be storytellers, and they are, but then it's, you have a story, how do you get people to know about it, to respond to it? And that can be the hardest thing, because it's not something we ever really think of when we get started. We're just thinking, oh, I have a story, I want to write it down, I want to get it out there. But then you think, well, how do I let people know about it? So I think for me, that's the hardest part. It's the creation part and the writing part are work, but it's enjoyable work. The hardest part is getting it out there and getting other people to respond to it. And there are just so many ways to do it. And a lot of times you have to kind of work and just figure out what the right one is.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey that has a lot of twists and turns, figuring out what's right and what's wrong, what may be the right thing to do for this story, or maybe what the wrong thing is, or just trying to figure out the ins and outs of it to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Is what we would say. And what advice would you give to aspiring writers out there?
Well, it's probably twofold, given what we just discussed. I would say to them, probably take in as much stuff as you can. As I've mentioned, I had a lot of books and television and film that I absorbed when I was growing up, and that inspired me to have the stories I do. And I would always tell people, try to do that same thing, because the more you take in, even passively, the more you start to understand how stories work. You start to figure out what you could do or to imagine. And just whatever that thing is that you might want to write, take in as much as you can from it, and even from other things that might not be related, because sometimes a story about a completely unrelated topic can help you to come up with something for whatever story you might have. And the other would just be, keep doing it, be prepared, for the hardships. When you start out, what you do will probably, as I said, will be terrible, but it's a learning curve like anything else. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And, look for other people, look for others who will help you and, help you figure out what the right decisions are for your writing, in terms of either what you should do as just a writer putting something down, or how you might want to get it out to the public, because there are so many things you can do. It's an ocean of possibilities, and that can be very, very daunting. So I would say to all of them, take in what you can, put it out as best you're able, and look for the best people to kind of guide you on the way, because I think those are the most essential things for any writer.
Teamwork does make the dream work, folks. It's very, very true. I mean, without the community that I'm in with the Men's Adventure Fiction Writers Discord, that's been a lot of fun to learn from. And there have been, great conversations with all the writers in there, and they're a very good group. It's always good to have a group to support you in your endeavors. So that definitely helps. So piggybacking off what Eric just said, yes, find people who are in the same field or want to write the similar type stories that you want to write, and learn from them. Guide them. Do your thing, and hey, just the force. You must feel the force around you.
Very much. At the last convention I did, I was able to kind of form a chain with some other authors in there, and even though we were all doing different things, it was good to have this link and say, like, hey guys, I heard about this show happened over here, but you should all look into that, or anything like that. Having that group, whether it's the kind of group you're in, or just knowing a few other authors, can be a huge difference in what you do.
That's very true. He's right, absolutely right. And with that being said, let's take a look at an example of this here. So, Silent Pantheon. Very interesting and intriguing cover. What exactly is Silent Pantheon, and how did this come about?
Well, Silent Pantheon is the first in a series I've been doing called the Pantheon Saga. It's about a group of 5 people who are living in New York, who are actually 5 different gods from 5 different mythologies. They are living among humans because in most cases, no one believes in them anymore or praises them. In other cases, they've kind of chosen to step down because there were just other conflicts they couldn't handle anymore. And they're living among us. They're trying to kind of do the things they were made for, that they were designed to do. And they're dealing with being lessened, being kind of forced to be among humans. And eventually, when they realize that there are signs that the world might be coming to an end, they have to decide, do we try to save these people, or do we forget about them the way they forgot about us?
Wow. Well, yeah. In the words of movie making, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. So
I've never heard that, but I like that.
you never heard that? Okay. Well, there's
I've
an
not
indie
heard that
film-
one, but I like it.
It's okay. There's an indie film out there. It's called Django Unchained.
That I know of. That I know of.
All right. Well, Leo DiCaprio is the one who coined that phrase, so we'll give thanks to Leo DiCaprio for saying that. So there you go. He said
That
it
makes
in the
sense from what I remember of it.
Tarantino movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I may not be the biggest Tarantino fan, but that quote is definitely something that stands out. But yeah, no. By the way, your cover looks phenomenal. Who designed the cover?
I actually, this is another example of knowing the right people. I had another author that I had known for some time, and she worked with a woman named Frey out in London, actually, who had designed her covers. And when I was working on this, she said, "Oh, you should talk to this person. Maybe she can help you design something." And it was a very collaborative process. She was very good at understanding what I had in mind. I sort of based the cover a little bit on Abbey Road because I thought that would be a cool idea to have. As you can see, the figures walking on top, but then on the bottom, you get a sense of what they really look like. And she was very, very open to that concept. And we obviously had a few drafts back and forth just to tweak things, but ultimately, we obviously landed a great cover. And she's also done the work for the other books in the series. So ever since.
Well, the cover looks fantastic. It's very unique. It's very unique, and goes the old saying, never judge, but we judge the book by the cover all the time, because the cover.
I was just about to say that. We always do.
Yeah, it's what sells the book for me. So if the cover looks intriguing, I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. I may want to check this out. And then I read the back for this, for the respective synopsis of the storyline. And if it's appetizing enough, I will purchase that book, or I will say, hey, this might be worth looking into. I'm going to check this out from my local library, whatever it is. But yeah,
exactly.
But this looks really unique and fascinating. And I am willing to admit this on national television. I do have a copy of your book in paperback.
Oh.
Here in my TBR shelf. I'm sorry, I've yet to read it, but I have every intention of sitting down and reading it and giving it an honest review on Goodreads.
If you go with Fahrenheit 451 first, I'll totally accept that.
Okay, so read Fahrenheit 54. So read that first, and then jump into Silent Pantheon. All right, got it.
I will always put Bradbury ahead of myself. I'll give him. I have to give him that.
Great Bradbury. All right, well, we're gonna keep that in mind as we roll along, folks. There you go. The more you know. See, there you go. There's your PSA. Back when. Once again, we are here with Eric Nierstedt here on this episode of And I Quote. Don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. What is your plan for Silent Pantheon moving forward? Is this going to be a trilogy? Is it going to be more than 3? Is there plans to Kevin Feige this thing and make it one giant, book universe with like 30 other books out there? What are you going to do?
Well, given how Marvel is now, I don't know if the Kevin Feige plan is necessarily the right one, but it definitely has gone on beyond just this first book. Since that came out a few years ago, I've written, I think I've written 3 more main books in the series. I also came out with a collection of short stories for it. It was sort of the idea of like, these were myths about these characters that no one ever wrote down and no one ever knew about until now. And I also put out a couple of digital stories. One was sort of the origin story, how they all met. And the other was actually a Christmas story because for whatever reason, at some point I started thinking that I would love to do a holiday story with these characters. And it took a considerable amount of time to sort of figure out the right way to do it. But eventually I came up with something that I was happy with and I was able to play and have some fun doing. So It has definitely expanded, and I'm still in the process of writing more books for it. As again, the hard part for me is always mapping it out and then kind of sitting down and grinding out those 5 or 10 pages whenever I can.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, we definitely wish you the best of luck with this, and we hope the odds are ever in your favor because this series sounds really fascinating. It's something that is definitely worth checking out. Is certainly from my perspective, just looking at that flipping good looking cover. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I know it's only the first one, and I know there's many other covers after that have come out since then, but still, it's an eye catcher to a certain extent. Now, have there been any special memories for you from being at signings or events, whether you're there as the vendor or there as the attendee?
I've managed to be to a few. There's a convention they do locally every year for a lot of independent authors, so that's been good because I've got to meet different people. Yeah, and again, just going back to our connections thing. One example, I had one woman who knew someone who was opening up an independent-only bookstore in Ireland, and she helped me get on the list for that. So, I got some international sales out of it, so that was pretty good. I think for me, the interesting thing is seeing people come up and, as you were, be attracted by the cover, and just seeing the range of people. I've had adults look into it. I've had kids look into it. And to me, it's like always interesting when you get people that you don't expect to be interested in your work, because you kind of feel like, oh, this does have an audience, and maybe it's even beyond what I think it is or where I think it's going. So those are the kind of memories I've really enjoyed. And, of course, I have to remember the one guy. It was a number of years ago, but I remember he actually bought the entire display I had, like the whole one of each book. So that's probably the best memory I've ever had from a signing or anything like that.
Oh, rock on, man. That's good. It's good to have those memories, and we hope we hope you're going to make many more as you go throughout the course of your career. You have any plans on attending any events or tabling this year?
I'm still looking into it. The convention I mentioned is always one that I go to just because, again, it's local. It's a very good crowd, very well organized. The rest is, again, looking for other conventions to go to. And that's another reason I kind of started connecting with all those authors, because it can be very hard to kind of find the right con for, not just your book. And you're thinking, do I do a general convention? Do I look for something that's more suited to what I'm writing? And that's why it's good to have these connections, because, it helps you find stuff. And that's kind of what I'm working on for this year, just seeing, over the summer, hopefully, or in the fall, like what are good conventions to go to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I gotcha. Where do you see independent writing and publishing go in the next 5 or 10 years? Think it's going to continue to grow and evolve?
I think it will. I think, I probably have to speak a little carefully here, but some of what I see in the mainstream, there is sort of can be formulaic at times, or just feel like these are things that people are doing because they've been popular. And I think what I like about independent stuff and where the field is that you have so many people coming up with other ideas that would this necessarily be the first thing a Netflix or a major studio goes to? Not necessarily, but that doesn't mean it won't find an audience. And I think there is always an audience out there for something new and different. So I think independent writing will continue to grow. I think people will gravitate to it because eventually everybody wants something different. They want something they haven't seen before. And if they feel like, they're not getting it from the mainstream, so to speak, they will look for other places. So I think it will definitely continue to move on. How it will do that, I couldn't exactly say, but I think there will always be that group of people who are looking for something new and different. And I think a lot of them will find it in the independent world.
Yeah, totally. I definitely see it continuing to grow and evolve. And you made some really good points there. So we look forward to seeing where the indie writing / indie publishing world continues to move forward in the near future and in the years to come, as one might say. Who is an author, living or dead, you would love to have a conversation with, and why?
Oh, shit. Well, I mean, I could name quite a few. I think, there was a time I would have loved to meet Neil Gaiman, because again, reading American Gods is what kind of propelled me to write this book, because it opened my mind up to that kind of story being possible. It's obviously he's in a difficult space right now, but I can't deny the impact he had. I would have loved to. I think Tolkien would probably be one if I could bring back a dead author, just because his work was so influential on so many levels. And even though I wouldn't consider my work to be the kind of fantasy that he wrote, I think the level of things he had, the allegories he made in his work, beyond just it's not just a story about elves and dwarves. It's also just a story about, that's partly based on what he went through during his war experiences. That would be just an immense conversation to see how he blended his experience into what he wrote. So I would probably have to say those two, just because Gaiman, again, the influence he had on my work is undeniable, and Tolkien, because it would be just an opportunity I wouldn't be able to pass down.
Well, it's true what they say, right? One does not simply walk into Mordor. Anyway, sorry.
You had to do it. I know.
It's one of the first things that comes to my mind, and Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite of the movies. So
it is the best one, I think. I agree with you there.
Not too many people have said this, but Fellowship, for me anyway, Fellowship of the Ring is my favorite of the trilogy, and here's why. Great introduction, great world building, and you get a sense of what this world is, how it works, and what the consequences are if you keep the ring or you attempt to destroy it, even before they go on the journey to Mordor to do it. So, and everyone's struggling with it a bit, I mean, Boromir has a struggle later on, but Aragorn's not sure if he can do it. Sam is terrified because he's never gone anywhere beyond the Shire. So
Merry and Pippin are the blissful idiots for a while.
Yeah, like Frodo's never been out of the Shire, so it's like this is all new for them. They don't know what they're doing. So it's a really good introduction to the story / the world, Middle Earth, and that council scene when they assemble
absolutely
is iconic. And the other thing that's iconic, and not too many people talk about this, the scene on the bridge between Arwen and Aragorn, where Arwen gives Aragorn her immortality necklace. I'm just like, whoa, like that. If that's not LOVE, I don't know what is. Okay, you know what I'm saying? For her to give up her immortality to say, I would rather share one lifetime with you than to face all the ages, every single one of them of this world alone. And Aragorn's like, wait a minute, you cannot give me this. It's just that's incredible.
And it's a very kind of short, simple scene in many ways. It's really you have to really listen to what they're saying to understand the full weight of it. But I think when you do, yeah, you're right. It's like, holy crap, she's really doing this. And I think then in the second movie where she's essentially dying because of everything, and then that gives him that renewed dedication to go and try to save everybody. That, yeah, like you said, if that isn't LOVE, nothing is.
Yeah. In other words, if that's not love, we don't know what it is. Sorry. We are allowed to say the L word on this show. We were just spelling it out for you in case you need a little bit of a reminder. Not that really anyone needs that, but never hurts to have a little note written out. Say, hey, this is how you spell this word. This is how you say it. Throwing it out there. But good picks as far as writers you'd like to sit down and talk with. What is one book that belongs on everyone's bookshelf that is not one of your own?
Oh God. You're making me think deep on this stuff today. I'm enjoying this. One book that should be on everyone's shelf. I mean, there are a lot. I mean, I've certainly read a number of books that I consider to be. If I had to pick one that I think people should have, maybe just because it might give them a certain impact, probably Lord of the Flies. And I think because I had first discovered that book, ironically, from another Stephen King story, and where they mentioned it, and they mentioned a young kid reading it and having this big impact on him. So I finally went out and read it. And I think, again, it's obviously a very intense book, but I think what it says about people and how we kind of how we may or may not hold on to things in certain situations. I think it's kind of just a reminder because it can be so easy for people to go from one viewpoint to another. And I think it's a book that kind of makes you stop and really think about, wait, what are we actually doing? And is this the right thing? And you can apply that to so many facets of life. But I think getting exposed to it in that scenario does make you think about maybe your own choices a little bit. So I think just for the sheer societal impact, yeah, I would pick Lord of the Flies.
Wow. Okay. I haven't heard that name. I know the book. I've heard of it, but I haven't heard that been mentioned since the movie. Have you ever seen Silver Linings Playbook with Bradley Cooper and
Oh,
Jake
yes,
Gyllenhaal and
yes.
Jennifer Lawrence? Because he says in a scene, "Hey, I'm trying to read this. It's my ex-wife is teaching this to her kid. What, Lord of the Flies?" And then she goes over like what's in the book and what's involved in it, and he says, "Wow, that was a really good description. How'd you do that?" It's just like, okay, it's just part of the charm of that movie. I mean, that's definitely one of the best rom-coms ever made, in my opinion. And if you've never seen Silver Linings Playbook, definitely see. In the beginning, I didn't understand why it won all the Oscars that it did many years ago. But now that I've seen it, and I've seen it more than once, I get it.
I would agree. I've only seen it a couple of times, but I remember it was definitely an excellent movie. And I'm not usually one for that kind of thing, but I think like the different human elements of it really kind of blended together to tell a good story.
Yeah, I think it works really well, and the cast is just ridiculously funny. And it amazes me how funny they can be in the most surprising of ways. To be perfectly honest with you, so if you've ever seen Silver Linings Playbook or you have seen it, I think it's time to go back and just give it a rewatch, revisit it. You know, we could all use a good laugh with especially how crazy and wild this weird
Oh God, yes.
world is. Yeah, so or heck, you could just pick up a book called Silent Pantheon and start reading that saga. I'm just saying. Sorry, sorry.
I would recommend that as well.
Free plugs, free plugs. Well, I do want to take this opportunity. There you go. I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you so much to Eric Nierstedt for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Eric, thank you so much for being here. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for telling us a little bit more about yourself and your series and where it's been and potentially where it's going. If someone wants to know more about you or pick up copies of your books, where can they follow you on social media?
Well, I primarily operate through my Facebook account, which is Eric Nierstedt Author on Facebook. I sell my books are an author page are available on Amazon. You can see everything I've written there. As I mentioned, the main novels, the short story collection, the 2 digital only stories that I put up, and even a couple of my earlier works. So if you want to see the things that helped me figure out how to do Pantheon, that's the place to go. So, Facebook, if you want to talk to me, hit Facebook. If you want to support my work, hit Amazon.
Very simple. The more you know. And thank you, sir, for sharing that with us. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. For me, I'm going to talk to you here again momentarily. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. Follow me across all forms of social media, simply at And I Quote Channel. Where am I pointing to? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Yeah, see, I got to get better at this whole finger pointing thingamabob. But yes, follow us across all forms of social media at And I Quote Channel. New episodes of And I Quote are on Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Movie watch-alongs are on Friday nights, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And other forms of special programming, such as the Writer Showcase, which we do once a month, where we gather a group of writers of different genres together, and I ask them a series of questions, and we talk about the writing process and all that wonderful stuff. That'll be coming up on the next episode. Has been pushed to March the 21st due to the fact that February and early stages of March are going to be insanely busy. For us here at And I Quote Channel Studios. So there you go. Also, we're on the road to 5,000. Once we have 5,000 subscribers, we're going to throw a live stream that will include special giveaways that you, the person who's watching or listening to this program right now, are going to be eligible to win. The seasons are changing, so treat yourself to some hoodies, shirts, stickers you can add to your water bottles, your notebooks. We have notepads, coffee mugs available for you. Located in a Redbubble store. The link is located in the description of this video down below in my link tree. It's also located in our social media bios. If you want to check out my short story, that I wrote. It's called Wolf of the West. It's a straight up Western that was published by Veritas Entertainment as a part of Western Tales Volume 1 that you can find in ebook, paperback, and hardcover on Amazon.com. 16 different writers, 15 different stories. I really think you're going to enjoy it, especially if you're in the mood for a good old-fashioned Western, or if you want to introduce somebody to the Western genre, you best saddle up, because it's going to be a lot of fun. So there you go. Yeah, howdy. Just saying. But check out Western Tales Volume 1. It's on Amazon.com. All the details are located in the description of this video down below and also across our social media bios. And once again, thank you for joining us for this episode of And I Quote. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when the videos go up or they go live. And I want to remind you that in March, we're calling it Mission March Madness for Movie Watch Along. Yes, 3 different Mission Impossible movies are turning a certain age. The OG turns 30 on March the 6th. Mission Impossible 3 will be celebrating its 20th anniversary on March 13th, and we'll be celebrating the 15th anniversary of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, aka MI4, on March the 20th. It's 1 month, just 1 month, folks. 3 Impossible watch-alongs, Friday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. I know you will. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to celebrate those 3 movies among the many others that we're going to be celebrating during this season of Movie Watch-Along. Thank you for being a part of this episode of And I Quote. We'll catch you on the flip side. And remember, life is better when supporting indie creators from all over the world. Take a look.
Strelin of Ulia is a cursed man, and cursed men are dangerous. He has traveled the known world seeking a way to lift his curse. So far, he has not found what he is looking for. When Trellin arrives in the city of Anshi, in the nation of Paraba, he meets a cold reception. The desert nation is unforgiving. Its people have proven untrustworthy, and the locals have no love for foreigners. Now, a wealthy stranger offers to lift Trellin's curse for a price, and he must make a choice. Seek a solution elsewhere, or risk imprisonment in the Tower of Ruhak, a place from whence no man has ever escaped. The known world of Atera, the prisoner of Ruhak Tower. Now available on Amazon in paperback and on Kindle.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.